Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of GameTales, the podcast with video on the background for some reason, it's so you don't get bored, I guess, on which we talk about different subjects. And today's subject is that of city builders. Not any one in particular, but city builders in general. And again, I am joined by Steven Nonsense from the channel C Nonsense. Hi, Steven.
Hi, Unicom. Good morning, afternoon to our listeners, and I hope everyone's been having a great weekend. And is this going out on Monday again?
Yes, it's going out on Monday. It's a present for people that go to work, go to school, and don't want to be actually engaged.
And hopefully this rather at length talk of ours will make your Monday that much less shitty.
Yeah. You're gonna have a case of the Mondays, but with a podcast.
Yeah.
So, city builders. I'm gonna make a presumption, a guess that I know exactly what's the first city builder you played.
Go for it.
Was it SimCity 2000?
No.
Oh my God! You're the only Romanian that didn't play it as the first city builder.
No, I didn't. I didn't have. I don't know. I don't think I had a capable computer, a SimCity capable computer back when it
for
was
SimCity 2000.
Yeah. Or it just didn't make it into my general area of people who knew it. I knew of it, but I think the first one. I mean, definitely the first one that I truly have serious memories about is. I was thinking about it as Knights and Merchants.
Oh yeah.
But
the attempt to make a sequel to Settlers from the original developers of the Settlers.
But the first time I got acquainted with the concept was again in that magazine that I talked about in our last episode, where I read something about a very interesting game called Afterlife,
made by LucasArts.
So that's when I was introduced to the concept of city builder games, but there would be like many years till I would actually get to play a game of the genre. And I've always been interested in Afterlife, and now thankfully I have it. I got it during a GOG sale, and it's on the list to play. I know I might.
So you still haven't played it?
No, I haven't played Afterlife yet, but I think I'm gonna get to it this year. Actually, depending on the general response to city building, to the city builder review videos I post, I might get to it. Actually, yeah.
I've been wanting to play Afterlife for many years as well, but I keep forgetting about it, like constantly.
Yeah. I think I can understand how that can be, but since for me that was the first time I was acquainted with the concept, I think it stuck with me, and that's why when I saw it, I'm like, oh, I'm definitely getting this. Although I've read a bit about it, and it might not have aged very well, but yeah, depending on the response to this week's video that I'll be releasing, which will be city builder review. I'll see if I'll get into Afterlife or try something else. I do have not a metric fuck ton, but a shit ton of city builder titles in my list.
There were a lot of them. According to the list I found on Wikipedia, since SimCity came out, like SimCity in '89, the genre just blew up. Within a couple of years, you had at least 5 of them a year, sometimes even more, and they really haven't stopped.
Well, they have.
There was a bit of a lull in 2012 where there was nothing, but then we had 1 in 2013. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in 2014, and they just kept coming.
I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not saying they haven't existed at all, but in as far as the mainstream or the zeitgeist is concerned, city builders haven't been a thing in, I'm gonna say, a decade, maybe even more.
I think SimCity 4 was probably the last big mainstream city builder.
And
I would say.
relatively recently, the Skylines. I think that would be the most recognizable title for the mainstream.
Also known as the gaming industry apologizes for SimCity, the reboot.
But again, that's just one thing. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't really think city builders have been a thing for a while. And that's why I think, that's not the main reason why I think that they're coming back. I think they're coming back thanks to the spark ignited by Banished.
Yeah. Banished did quite a lot. Well, there was also, Tropico has been doing well enough on its own in all these years, since 2009 with Tropico 3.
Another series I've never played.
Really? You've never had the inkling of becoming a dictator in your own Paradise Island?
Absolutely not. That sounds horrible. That sounds horrible. No.
You can be a benevolent dictator. You give people money, and you also take a cut for yourself.
Obviously.
And the second one is actually one of my. It's. You know how you have seen the Halloween movies with Mike Myers?
Well, basically, if you see one.
Yeah, here the idea with the Halloween movies was they were all supposed to be different, but the first two sort of ended up being with Mike Myers, and the third one was completely different.
Yeah, they were supposed to be like sort of an anthology series / not really, but yeah. Yeah,
that's
the third one was it Season of the Witch, I think it's called? Yeah, okay. It's the one with the killer Halloween masks.
Exactly. The Tropico series sort of started out the same way. The second one was about pirates. You are a pirate king. You had undead skeleton armies you could resurrect from the dead and put them to work.
They went all fantasy. Okay, that's interesting.
And the thing is, it was made, I think it was made before Pirates of the Caribbean. Let me exactly check when it was made. Okay, no, it's 2003, so the Pirates of the Caribbean was out then, I think.
What?
But still, it was...
Was it? Is it that old? Or is that movie that old?
I know I saw it in high school.
I don't think it was. I don't think I was in high school, man. I think it was after.
No, in 2003. So they were launched in the same year. So it's quite probably that they made the game because of the movie.
Could be.
Actually, I'm gonna check the release dates on both just to make sure. So the movie was in June.
The movie, they might have been working on the game for a while though, but yeah, I guess they just changed some models and assets and shit.
So the game was in April.
Okay. And the movie was in the summer, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? But obviously, marketing for the movie had started already. So
yeah, but they only had like 1 year to make the game because they released Tropico. No, they did have time. They had 2 years to work on it. So they may have made it after the movie.
Yeah. Okay. So
it still worked. I mean, it's a very distinctive game, and none of the others went in that direction or in any other than you being the dictator of a small island.
It's something interesting. This is what you can't do as a AAA studio or like someone with like a huge budget experimenting. Yep. I mean,
once it's established, you do not deviate.
Yeah, and that's why one of the main reasons why I think most, if not all, of the real innovation comes from the indie realm, because they're not bound by those types of notes and deadlines and publishers and shit like that.
Yeah, there's also no fan base telling you not to do that.
If anything, it's the opposite. Because the communities that are built around indie games now and people who do proper community building and actually keep in contact with and interact with people, they're, besides the fact that the community actually puts their money where their mouths are by backing their project, actually encourages the devs crazy shit. So now it's something of the opposite, actually.
Yep. Whereas if it's just
in the indie realm, yeah.
Where if it's just about the community of a single game, they generally want you to stick to what has worked so far.
Yeah, that's always a problem with an already established title or concept, and that's the problem. That's the reason why we've been getting so many goddamn motherfucking movie reboots and reimaginings and the re-sequels. because, first of all, movies, especially, and I'm talking about Hollywood movies here, they haven't been an actual artist medium in like never. So they're products made to make money. And it's much easier for a company to resell basically an already established concept, an already established name, which people already know. So that's the reason for reboots. It's not because of a lack of originality or creativity or any of that artsy-fartsy bullshit. It's all about the money, Lebowski.
Imagine what Hollywood could do if it could port its movies like Bethesda ports Skyrim.
Holy Jesus! Or just imagine if there would be more like a real variety of movie watching formats.
Well, there's 2D, 3D, 4DX now.
Yeah, and then add on those. Imagine black and white was still a thing, or moving theater versions of it, like interactive theater.
Oh yeah. Well, there was one. There's a game on Steam. I forgot what it's called. Something Night that was actually shown in movies, and you could vote with your phone with an app what happens.
So imagine if Hollywood would have that sort of access to if they would have that sort of environment around them. It would be. You think we're seeing too many Star Wars movies now? Oh boy, my God. You have no idea.
I think there are already too many of them.
That being said, I love it. But anyway.
Yeah, let's get back to City Builder. So the first one I played, and first one a lot of the people I know had played was SimCity 2000. It's
a classic.
It's a classic. I didn't play the original SimCity like until after like maybe 10 years of playing SimCity 2000.
Did you know there was an NES version of that?
Of 2000?
No, of the original SimCity.
Yeah, think of the original. Yeah, I think I saw it once. I'm not exactly sure.
I didn't see it in real life. I saw it on the internet. But I was just fascinated. I'm like, holy shit, they did that on the fucking NES? Holy shit.
Yeah, there was a lot more attempt to port different kinds of games on consoles back then, whereas now they do sometimes try, and the public just doesn't seem to be interested for some reason.
Yeah, problem always is when they develop things for consoles mainly, and then they port it to PCs, which very rarely results in a smashing product. But let me ask you this.
Sure.
I'm going to go on a separate tangent after this, but vis-a-vis why I feel we haven't seen city builders in like the past decade, and why they were more popular like in the 90s. But I want to ask this: what's the main thing that attracts you to playing city builders? Because not everyone plays city builders, just like not everyone plays turn-based tactics or chess or Go or card games. So what's the ingredient that makes you want to say, yeah, let's spend 3 hours building motherfucking roads?
Well, I guess it's the feeling you get from starting with nothing, with an empty canvas, and just seeing it grow bit by bit the way you designed it, and see if it has the people moving around. But mostly it's coming up with a solution to a challenge, because in most city builders you have finite resources, you have a very, very restrictive way in which you can build a city, and you have to find the best way to make the biggest city there, so it'll be the most prosperous one possible. Which is why I like games that tend to throw a wrench in the gears from time to time, so you don't necessarily have the perfect formula always, so you can still experiment. And I think a really good example of that is the Anno series. Like Anno, I replayed Anno 1404 recently, and it is in terms of depth and complexity, it just goes off the charts compared to Zeus and Caesar and pretty much everything before it.
Apparently, the Anno series was quite a different type of animal compared to the Caesars and the Zeuses. and I like them both. So for those listening, this week's video for me is going to be Anno 1701: The Sunken Dragon, and I was very pleasantly surprised to find not only the city building aspect, but the extra layer of creating shipping routes, and the sort of tiny bit amount of combat, which is or isn't there depending on your playstyle. But the shipping routes, that was quite an interesting thing to add, because trading isn't really a thing you get to do in the older city builders that much.
Yeah, there's been no interaction between you and other cities. They're abstracted somewhere around.
There's no outside world basically, unless they're attacking you or something. On the other hand, those games were pretty difficult on their own.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in SimCity 2000, I never figured out how to play it properly. Never, like at all. I would just cheat for more money and then build everything. And once I actually got the acrologies, the space acrology to take off, but I was underwater. I was looking at the pipes when they all took off, and I had like 50 of them, and they crashed my computer.
Nice. For some odd reason, I never got into SimCity. I mean, I played it obviously at a certain point, but I was like, I wasn't that interested in managing a contemporary looking city. I don't know if that
managing it was difficult and kind of boring, but building it was amazing. Still had no idea how to make a profit.
Because you see, that's the thing I love most about city builders is managing and optimizing them. Building the actual thing isn't that. Yeah, I'm not sure. Fine, take it or leave it. The things I love most is actually urban planning, city planning. I love planning where the roads go and where the industries go and where the people go and everything like that, and then optimizing the flow of resources, the logistics chains. That's my main thing when it comes to city builders.
Yeah, and SimCity has a bit of a limitation there, because you don't necessarily choose what types of industry you have. You don't choose what types of houses, just the location where people build them.
Yeah, and also another thing for me is the theme, and this doesn't really go into discussing how good the game is on an objective or mechanical level. That's a separate thing. As far as I'm concerned, it's the game has to hook me with the theme. Sure, the mechanics and everything and the gameplay will win out in the end. For instance, Banished. But one of the main problems I saw in Banished was that it doesn't have a theme. It does great what it does. It's a city building survival game.
But it's not really. There's no very survival. I mean, once you get through the first winter and you realize that you need to have more people in your village constantly because the old ones will die, it sort of doesn't become as much of a survival game as something like Frostpunk, for example.
Oh no, I disagree with that. I haven't played Frostpunk, but having played quite a bit of Banished.
Yeah, Banished has the issue of giving you infinite resources. Like, you can mine stone ad infinitum. There's pretty much no end to it, for example.
I don't think you can. I think maybe like in the older versions, but in the
release one.
In the version I played, I don't remember stone being infinite. It was infinite in the castles and what's it called? Damn it! I reviewed it, and you reviewed it. Castles and dragons. No, what's it called? God damn it!
Kings and Castles. The one that looks like Minecraft, basically, right?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
So in that one, stone was infinite. It's true, but that was a different map layout and stuff. I don't remember stone being infinite in Banished.
But it wasn't the version I played. I mean, after I think it was 3 or 4 years, there was a giant pit. Like, you could almost see it was so low that you couldn't see the end of the ladder they had like put there to dig out more stone. But they just keep getting more out of there.
No, man, no. It's limited. Now I remember the quarry things. No, they have a limited number now.
Cool.
It's been limited for a while, and that's the thing. Or again, maybe I'm wrong. So someone please let us know in the comments how ill prepared we are. But what I really liked about Banished is that it had changing variables, which meant, you could survive the first winter, but that didn't mean you're going to survive the next one, because food production would vary, your wood production, gathering, let's call it, would also vary, population numbers would vary, sickness, etc. So I was never, whenever I played Banished, I was never completely assured that everything works well, even though I was constantly fiddling with it. And that's the thing of the game. You have to constantly shift and modify where resources are coming from. Maybe you need extra source of resources. Maybe this particular forester needs to spend the next year planting trees back, not cutting them. So I never felt like I would feel in Caesar, for instance, where once you set up, let's say, your ceramics logistics chain, that's it. The only thing you might...
It'll always work, yeah.
Yeah, the only thing you might need is just add another shop in case you need more pottery. But that wasn't the thing. That's not how Banished works, because at a certain point you would reach a certain saturation of resources, or not resources, a saturation of tools or things that your population needs. And in order to not overproduce those, you would have to then scale back or stop for a while, and then keep that in mind and restart again. So that's why I don't... the survival aspect in Banished is constant and throughout the game, regardless how... I've had settlements for... I think I got like at least 100 years or something like that. And
I never played it that much, so maybe it does...
No, I played it a lot, dude. I played it so much, I started playing it for the achievements.
Oh God!
Like those crazy ass achievements of like starting in a mountainous area, or only with 50 people, or that sort of stuff. And I got a couple of them, not the super hardcore ones, although there's always time. But I played Banished a lot. I loved it. That's the game that reignited my city builder spark and interest. So trust me, the survival aspect in Banished is quite present, quite all the time.
The only thing that got me when I first played it was around release date, was that I wasn't at all prepared for the idea that people died and had to replenish it. Because I didn't do that, I just lost the game within a year. Because people were starting to die, some of them because of the cold. Even if I survived the winter, there wasn't enough of a new generation to supplement all the missing people.
And even in that game, you get a bit of trading. Actually,
yeah,
because you actually
need to trade for seeds. You need to trade for livestock.
You need to trade for that. Also, it's useful to have like a very much like in real life, have a varied number of food sources, because, like I said, those tend to vary.
Yep.
As
you get one blight, and
they vary in production. I mean, so yeah, and some of them. Some of them are more productive than others, but it also helps to have a variety because the population will be happier, which makes sense. But that's the only game where I somehow managed to multiply one cow. So I don't know what the hell those farmers were doing.
Maybe she was already pregnant?
We're going to go with that one? Let's go with that.
Otherwise, you had the magic cow, and you probably sacrificed cow Jesus.
Either had a magic cow, or these farmers somehow have some really advanced genetic cloning capabilities that I don't know about. But no, I actually mentioned that in the review, because I was like, okay, I have one cow, so I made the space. I only had money for one cow, and I needed food variety. And I'm like, okay, she's gonna survive for a while. And then after going fast for a couple of minutes, I'm like, wait, where did the other cow come from? So that it has its quirks, but it's funny. But it's a solid city builder. But again, the problem I had with it and partially why I stopped playing was that it didn't have the extra layer of a theme, an aesthetic theme, a graphics theme, not to mention the lack of a campaign.
Yeah, the theme can be a very strong thing. For example, Pharaoh is probably my favorite of the impression games just because of the theme, just because of what the Nile can do. Like it floods over, it spills over, and it then rises up. It sort of sets up an idea that you're not just playing a city builder with a skin. It's both a theme and a gameplay mechanic built into it. It's what defines the game and the pyramidal costume.
Obviously, and it also defines the civilization.
Yep.
That the game was based on. I haven't actually played Pharaoh yet either. I've always wanted to, but again, I have that one also on the list. So I'm looking forward to make that review and play that game, because I did review Caesar 3 like last year, I think. So yeah.
Have you played Emperor? Did you get to play Emperor so far? The sequel to
oh
Caesar.
No. I played the only Emperor I played was Emperor Battle for Dune.
Oh yeah. Those were the days.
Which, by the way, those listening, you had a very fun Dune reference in your Anno review. I know only one person in the comments got it, so that's fun.
Praise be his passing.
Fear is indeed the mind killer.
Yeah.
No, I haven't gotten to Emperor, but I don't. That one never really. I mean, Pharaoh is. Growing up, I was hugely interested in ancient Egypt and Egyptian mythology in general. So Pharaoh is gonna probably be the last impressions game I play, because, like I said, I have a lot of other city builders waiting.
If you get the chance, do give Emperor a try, because it does add a lot in terms of dynamic map mechanics, which the previous games, apart from, well, I guess Pharaoh did with the Nile, and some of them did with volcanoes now and again. For the most part, the map didn't change much. This one changes a lot. Like, if there's a flood, your city is just Atlantis now.
Mm-hmm. There's volcanoes in Anno 1701, by the way.
They're in the expansion to 1404, but I didn't play the expansion.
I don't know why I really don't know why they added although on the other hand, I did play the Sunken Dragon, which is technically an expansion to the original 1701. But you find volcanic islands, and they have like a giant volcano in the middle, and it erupts.
Yeah.
And
after it erupts, yeah, same with the Anno 1404.
But one cool thing about there's going to be more details in the review, but just mild spoiler for the Anno 1701 campaign, a motherfucking meteorite hits one of the islands.
Cool.
It's crazy cool. But yeah, that's why. So we were talking about the importance of what attracts us to city builders, and you are more for the city building part, and I am more for the city planning part.
Tell me, what are your feelings on really complicated production chains?
Depends how much sense they make. I have no problem with really complex production chains as long as they make sense. Which I know it can be like a bit of a objective thing, but sometimes some shit just doesn't make sense. Like in the Anno series, for instance, again, since we've both just reviewed, all the warehouses access a shared pool of resources.
Yeah.
Now we suspend our disbelief. It's part of the game mechanic. It's like one of those conventions you have to accept in order to get to play the game. But as far as real life goes, that makes fuck all sense.
Yeah. But the production chains themselves, like how you combine the resources, how you manage them, what you need to do with them, that's actually real well done.
It is. I also enjoy the fact that there is a couple of them that you don't necessarily have to link to a warehouse, that they're just going to be picked up by the industry that uses that thing. Like
Yep.
The textile maker will go gather the wool and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the prime example of like really complex fucking things would be that Factorio game.
Oh yeah, I keep meaning to play that.
Which I've only seen some videos of, and it looks crazy complex. But it's only I think you might enjoy that a bit more than I would.
Well, I love playing with redstone in Minecraft, so probably yes.
Yeah, because apparently it's literally just about getting resources, building things, and researching stuff. Obviously, I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of optimization to be had there, and the theme is quite apart. But it doesn't scream city builder that much to me.
And I think it had sandworms or something, so it's probably right up my alley.
It has monsters and aliens attacking. I know, that's for sure.
Out of curiosity, have you played any of the, let's say, lesser-known city builders of yesteryear? You know, stuff like Cultures or CDXXL?
No, those don't really ring a bell, to be honest.
Series XL was sort of the attempt of, I think it was Monte Cristo, and then I think CI or Focus Home Interactive to continue the legacy of SimCity. Okay. They were sort of like the sequels to UFO that we talked about last week. They were made by posters of other people, and they were okayish in certain aspects, but sort of weren't all that great until SimCity came along, the last game of the series, and suddenly they seemed a lot better.
It's always a matter of reference points.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I haven't played any of those. I was, generally only the top of things. The best tend to propagate to our piratey hands. At least until the mid 2000s when we got internets and then everything exploded.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's when this game started sort of to come out. The earlier part of the city building genre, the 90s, were sort of dominated by the big names. Like I'm looking at the list, and there's Pharaoh, there's SimCity, there's SimCity on Linux, Lin City, there's Settlers. We're gonna get Settlers soon. There's basically, there's Tropico and Startopia. I remember trying to play Startopia, the demo of it, on my old PC, and I couldn't see any text because it wasn't compatible with my video card.
Okay.
I haven't played it since then.
Yeah, that's a type of issue that only oldies but goldies such as you and me will remember going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember having problems setting up your audio card?
Yeah. What's the IRQ to that? What's the DMA?
What's the IRQ to that? Motherfucking 7 or 5, depended on the computer.
Good old times.
That was arguable good old times. God, old times, that's for sure. I don't know about the good times part.
They were fun in their ways.
Yeah, of course.
Did you get the chance to play any of the Stronghold games?
No, I had heard about them, but I don't know, for some odd reason I was never they never made it across my path, but I have acquired recently Stronghold HD.
Yeah, that's the first one with basically a patch to support high resolutions.
Yeah. So again, I got that during my after my city builder renaissance, let's call it. After playing Banished, I got a bunch of city builder titles because I wishlisted them on Steam and GOG. And when the winter sales came up on, there was some good hunting to be done. So I'm gonna check out Stronghold from what I understand, because obviously I've seen reviews and read about them. they're much more about like they're much more fortress builders rather than city per se.
That's what I loved about it. It was about the fantasy of you building your own castle. And I know there was a series called Castles that was just about that, but I was going to do a review of it this year, but something intervened and I had to do a review of something else. But I'm going to get them again. I really didn't play that much Castles, sadly, but I did play Stronghold. It's a lot more limited in terms of production chains and the needs of your populace and what you can do with them. I mean, it is the Dark Ages. You're just breeding them for war, kind of.
Jesus.
But it is still fun. Yeah, it is still fun. You have chickens running around. You have a headless ghost that appears if you build a shrine. It's fun. It is still, however, focused on combat. The first one, somehow in the first one, they didn't add a skirmish mode. So you could only do campaigns and invasions. You couldn't have just you building your castle and someone else building a castle and then fighting. They kept that for the sequel, which is why Stronghold Crusader is usually the one that people prefer most. But in terms of, I guess, mood, not necessarily theme, I like the first one the most because it just sort of, when you were, one of the first missions, you had this superb music, which is, I can't remember what it's called. You probably heard the music. It's the music from Heroes. It's in Heroes 4. It's in Warlord's Battlecry. It's in Stronghold. It's in a bunch of games because it's based on an old Gaelic melody that everybody keeps reinterpreting.
Okay.
It's something the Maiden, it's called. And that music just came out in the game when we had it like an idyllic site with trees blowing in the wind with the grass, and suddenly the music sort of got dark and foreboding and wolves started attacking, and wolves were terrifying at the beginning because you had basically no defense.
I think wolves were terrifying in the beginning period in general, like in human civilization.
Sure, once you got knights, you could fight bears, but at the beginning, wolves were terrifying.
I don't think that would be a great idea though, but yeah, sure.
Also rabbits, like, screw the rabbits. Rabbits will just eat everything they see.
I thought you were going to say rabbits would just screw anything they see.
Yeah, the thing is, if you don't have wolves on the map, or if you don't kill the rabbits, they will. Like, they will screw everything they see and multiply like a plague.
A rabbit fluffy plague.
Yeah, well, they'll eat everything you have.
Then it is cool that it has this sort of, well, not necessarily living, but a little bit more dynamic environment than if the wolves keep the bunnies in check and whatnot.
Yeah, and the thing is, that works actually from the map editor. Like, the moment you place a wolf in the map editor, it's alive. If you place a rabbit next to it, it's gonna eat a rabbit.
Okay.
It's funny that way. But they don't tend to migrate a lot. I mean, the deer do, but the wolves, the predators tend to not migrate. Would be nice if they went somewhere and then came back, like had a migration to them. But the game was too focused on like just one small thing, so it didn't have that kind of branching stuff.
Technically speaking, wolves don't migrate. They have territory that they patrol, but they don't migrate per se.
Yeah. So, let's talk a bit about settlers and knights and merchants.
Okay.
You said you played Knights and Merchants first. What was your impression of it when you first played it?
Well, if it was, considering it was most likely the first thing I really played, it was the first city builder. Again, it's the first thing I have actual valid memories of. So I'm going to go with it's the first one I played. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the setting, I enjoyed the theme, and I was a real big fan of the pixel art and the animations. I found the animations of the people going about their jobs, their day-to-day life. I don't want to say infinitely interesting, but quite, but close to. I could just I would spend a lot of time just looking at the pigs in the sty, and the butcher making sausages, and the tanner preparing the leather, And one of my favorite ones was in the vineyard once they, or orchard, whatever you want to say,
Vineyard, I guess.
vineyard. Once they gathered the grapes, they would make wine, and there was this tiny human just squashing the grapes with their feet, which I found extremely interesting and thematic and appropriate.
I had a sort of the same reaction to Settlers 2. It's also one of the I played it after SimCity 2000, but the way it looked, I mean, just that was the first game I saw where trees moved in the wind. They had like 3 frames of animation,
Yeah.
but they looked amazing. And the characters, they blinked like they were 5 pixels tall, but I think they blinked. I'm certain they blinked.
Or you just stared at them too long.
Yeah, they had to, like one of them would read the paper if like he stood still for too long.
Okay,
Where'd they get the paper? They were Romans stranded on an island. Where'd they get a paper?
they would in the Settlers 2 10th anniversary edition, which from what I understand is the same thing, only with cooler graphics, I guess,
Yep.
a 3D engine. If you let them just, if you don't give them work, they're just gonna start doing all kinds of weird activities. Like they're gonna stand on their hands, on their heads, weird shit. Nobody reading newspapers though.
There were ducks. Like I would just put you could put independent cameras on the screen in that game, which is something I loved.
Oh,
Not
that's
a lot of
that's
games do
interesting.
independent cameras anymore. Like you can put an
Okay.
independent camera to follow pretty much anything you want. I would put them on ducks. Like there were ducks swimming around in the lakes. I would put cameras on ducks just to watch the ducks.
You find
Were there
ducks. You find watching ducks oddly relaxing, or what?
Yeah, it's sort of the reverse effect of that anatta dentotophobia thing, where fear of a duck always watching you somewhere. I'm the one watching the ducks, basically. I'm the reverse of that phobia.
Yeah, and who watches the person who watches the ducks?
Probably a duck.
Quack.
Were there any ducks in Knights and Merchants that you can remember?
No, I don't remember ducks. I don't remember those sort of things. I remember.
Here's another question. Do you remember there being merchants in Knights and Merchants?
No, that was always odd. At least not as far as I got into game. I got up to there was one mission that I could never get past. It was the barbarian invasion. No matter how many watchtowers I managed to build, they would always run out of stone, because one stone would actually kill a barbarian. I think if I remember correctly. But I just didn't have enough time to prepare my defenses and get some troops up by the time the barbarians came. So I'm actually looking forward to trying it again now. Like, I don't know,
How long has it been since you played it?
10 to 15 years later, I guess. It's been around the 2000-ish era. Yeah.
The pathfinding may be worse than you remember a bit. It doesn't have any.
Yeah, roads were. I remember roads being important.
I don't know. I mean, for the units, the combat units.
Oh, that thing. Yeah, I remember them bumping into each other a lot.
They will outright choke themselves in a single place and die because they're idiots. The game was sort of shipped before it was actually really ready. I think they wanted to add more stuff to it, like merchants, that they didn't have a chance to, sadly. And it's made again by some of the people that worked on Settlers 2. And with the third one, Settlers 3, they went in a sort of a bit of a different direction. Because Knights and Merchants roads matter, right? Like the roads were how you got things to other places.
Yeah, everything you need.
And you built them. You decided where the roads go.
Yeah.
In the third one, the roads were still there, but they were built. They were paths basically. They were worn grooves in the ground from where the people would go by themselves. You didn't build them anymore.
I am of two minds about that. First of all, because I love building roads in city builders. That's one of the mechanics that I always that I always make a special section for in my reviews for city builders, and the Anno 1701 is no exception. So I'm of two minds that I love being able to build roads. I love even more being able to destroy and rebuild roads, which is something you can't do in Anno. I don't know about. I don't know
in
about
1404. Yeah, you can. In 1404, you can. You can upgrade them. You can rebuild them.
No, 1701 does not. If you can upgrade them, you cannot rebuild them though.
Oh, that's sad.
It actually increases the game's difficulty by quite a bit, because once you lay the road, it's there. So yeah, you have to deal with that. But on the other hand, so on the one hand, I love building roads and managing, and like I said, city planning and the road layout is basically the foundation on which you plan a city. Big part for me. But on the other hand, I do like the idea that the roads naturally exist where the basically create themselves via paths where your people, the tiny models actually walk through. And that's something that's going to be a feature in the new still in development city builder called Foundation.
What's that about?
Which I backed on Kickstarter. It's not Asimov's Foundation. Don't get your hopes up. No, it's again it's a as far as I can tell, it's also a medieval type of setup. And you build things, but the it's not a grid based game. It's not
a freeform.
Yeah, it's not a grid based city builder, and everything around it has this very rounded, curvy, and sort of organic type of feel to it. For instance, when you don't plant a field. You just allocate an area, and then the people will plant in that area. And that area is usually rounded. I mean, some sort of a non-rectangular shape. And the other thing is that I'm not sure you might be able to build roads. Again, it's barely in alpha. I think it's barely reaching alpha. But the people create paths where they walk, and that I find that interesting. I would find it even more interesting if you can then build roads upon those paths, so like increase their speed or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But another cool thing that Foundation has that made me want to back it is that usually you in some of these games you get some very high end buildings that you can build make at a certain point. For instance, in Anno 1701, after at the last level of population development, if you have the money, you can just spend it in building basically bling. You're just building sumptuous stuff.
Yeah, I think you have cathedrals in 1404.
Yeah, manor houses and gardens and statues, and I never really got into that. But again, but in Foundation, you can customize these important buildings in your town. For instance, you can customize building the church or your mansion. And it comes with some pre-built blocks, and some of those anchor points, and then you can add a wing, a tower, a castle, and then you can make it longer, wider, whatever you want. So that ability to customize and basically personalize your own house, I guess you can build the town hall, the castle mansion. I really enjoy that concept, that idea.
You can make them unique.
You can make them your own, personalize them. So that was actually on top of the path and the non-grid, which should be interesting. I haven't really played a non-grid based city builder, the fact that you can customize everything made me actually back Foundation.
Are you looking forward to any other city builders that will be released in the next couple of years?
I actually am. Again, all of them coming from the indie realm, because that's where my interest lies. So I've always been keeping my ear near to the ground. And again, why I'm saying that city builders are coming back. There's another one that I think only one dude is working on. It's called Neolithic. And as you might garner from the name, it's about humanity in the Neolithic era, which looks pretty good already. You see, obviously, if it's just him working on it, he still has a way to go, but it looks pretty good already. And apparently he went like the supply chains actually will be interesting in this one, because there's some resources that can be used in several places from what I saw, or you can use the same resource to make different levels of things. So Neolithic is one of them, and the other one, quite probably the biggest, in scope, the scopiest city builder in the indie realm is something called Ancient Cities.
Oh yeah, I keep seeing updates from that one.
Yes, I've been following them from long before they actually had their Kickstarter. Unfortunately, I couldn't back them since I wasn't really in the backing money back then. I could back Foundation, so I at least did that. But the Ancient Cities people are looking into creating a very dynamic, variable, and responsive sort of environment. They plan to have growth cycles for the plants and the grass, and similar, they're planning to work with having migrating animals, and again, growth cycles for those as well. Not to mention day and night and all of those good things. And Ancient Cities, I think it's called Ancient Cities, so it's gonna be probably technically from a temporal standpoint, it's gonna be set after the Neolithic era, I believe. So I'm thinking something in the realm of Mesopotamia sort of thing.
Yeah, probably around there.
That sort of thing. That I think that's where they're going. But yeah, Foundation is coming relatively soon. I'm not sure if they're gonna release it this year. They might towards the autumn, if not next year. But there's gonna be a beta out for the backers sometime this year. So I'm definitely gonna cover that. Neolithic, which should be longer in development, since I think it's made just by one guy, and Ancient Cities, which has been very well funded, and the dev team is really on top of things, and they're very communicative with their community, and they and there's updates. The same thing goes for the Foundation guys as well. And there's updates and stuff like that. So 3 titles, not just one.
I'm curious, there's one game that's been in development for quite a while. It is a city builder of sorts. Not sure if you played it. Dwarf Fortress.
No, actually, you mentioned that in the first one. And I said I am aware of it. And I looked into it. But I'm just like, nah, I'm not going to touch that, no.
Why not? I mean, it is, as a city builder, it is, well, technically, I'm not exactly sure how to qualify it, because it is a city builder. You can build cities, absolutely, but you can also build a water-powered computer that does calculations. And not because there is an item in-game called a computer. No, you build sluice gates that diverge water into certain tanks, and the tanks then can count as a memory bank if you set them up right, and you can do calculations that way. Or you can build a city.
So it's a basic automaton sort of calculator. It's like a non-transistor based, which kids out there and even adults out there, there was a time when our technology was not based on transistors. It was huge, but it worked.
Yep.
Oddly enough, it kind of worked. And that's what most steampunk is, or neo-Victorian fiction is based around. The idea that we didn't invent the transistor and all of our technology is that.
One thing that I kind of love about those old machines is that when you divide by 0, things break, and I mean they explode sometimes.
That's a very good illustration of what happens if you were to divide by 0. Shit explodes, motherfucker. No, so I never got into Dwarf Fortress, partly because of the reputation. I mean, at this point in time, it has so much hype, and it's also such a insane scope for the game that it's kind of like Minecraft to a certain degree. There's so much shit you can do.
It makes Minecraft look like kindergarten practice.
That's even worse. That's even worse of a pitch for me. Because there's that thing like it's somewhat similar to paralysis by analysis, but this is paralysis by too many choices.
It has kind of a horrible interface.
Yeah, there is such a thing as having too many choices. So at least in terms of, gaming and general products and services, I believe. So there is also that. And, whilst I love old games and I love pixel art and, that's not a problem, I do like the games I play to actually have some form of graphics.
Well, you do have graphics mods for it that will add even isometric graphics to it.
Yeah, but again, that's just the final thing. It's mostly because it's such a huge endeavor that instead of me playing Dwarf Fortress, I much rather play 10 other indie titles and maybe just maybe introduce at least one or two people to those titles.
And they may actually get to love those games, whereas Dwarf Fortress, they will either go insane playing it or touch it once and then never again.
Yeah, so Dwarf Fortress really doesn't need the help of my tiny YouTube channel. I'm trying to use my power to advance the indie industry, and as much as I can, just bring awareness to titles that otherwise people will not hear about because they have no marketing budgets.
Yeah. Speaking of marketing, who has marketing? Ubisoft. And it's going to launch a new Anno game this year. It's going to the Victorian era, the year 1800, the Industrial Age.
I know that. We talked about that off mic for a while.
Yep.
The interesting thing is, despite the fact that Ubisoft has marketing budgets, I don't know about you, I had no idea they were making another one. Well, I only saw they were making another one when I looked up references for my review.
The announcement, I wouldn't say was big, but we're still many, many months before the release.
Did you know about it?
Well, yeah, because I saw the announcement trailer on YouTube when they announced it. But there's a thing that the Anno series has sort of a problem. The old games were never released in the US until 3 years after the first one. So when Ubisoft got the franchise, it tried to make it. They tried to launch the 1404 game as Dawn of Discovery without any Anno in the name because nobody knew it in the USA. So they tried to bring it to the market again.
Yeah, you mentioned that in your review, and I was like, now things started to make sense in my head a bit because I remember hearing about Dawn of Discovery and then only somewhat hearing about Anno. And we're in Europe, so obviously we heard about Anno, but
yeah,
there was always a bit of confusion as far as I was concerned because, like I said, I didn't. This was the first Anno title I played. I was aware of it existing as a series, but I didn't know that the XCOM UFO enemy unknown enemy shit happen again. Although
it always happens.
Yeah, it makes a certain amount of sense because So what about what do you want to say about the? Can you check quick when it's slated to be released?
This winter, so around December.
So when do you think they're gonna start marketing this thing? Because they should have started already.
Well, probably it depends on what they expect from it. I mean, there's been issues where they didn't expect the expansions of the crew to sell, which is a MMO that has millions of players, and they marketed them like not at all. Like they announced them like in 5 minutes, 5 minutes before release. This one, I think they're gonna start like this autumn to bring the hype with it.
Okay, so they start a bit late, but again, they have the money.
Yeah.
I'm in my when I consult with indie devs about their marketing strategy, I always say, do you have some concept art? Yeah, just start with that. Start now. Tell people what you're doing, what you want to do. Doesn't matter if it's gonna end up that. It most probably won't. But just make.
You're making more Peter Molyneux that way.
Make sure make sure people know about the title of the game, because no one Peter Molyneux. Yeah, sure. Idea is Peter Molyneux should have known better.
He should have.
Someone who's just starting up developing a game is allowed to make those mistakes. Peter Molyneux shouldn't have been, and he wasn't. He's become a meme. He's become a laughingstock. He's become his own jokes, basically his own type of jokes. Whenever you hear something, it's like, they're gonna Molyneux this one.
Yeah, I think the thing that I love most about Molyneux was one of his last acts as at Fable at Microsoft, when he had a bunch of game journalists write on a blackboard or a whiteboard that the Fable Legends or Fable what was his name was not on Rails, and they all signed it. The game was on Rails.
Shit.
It was so amazing.
I obviously would. But there is a well-known fact that whenever you start planning, especially a game concept, that's never the thing you're going to end up with.
Things will get cut out constantly.
Things will get cut out. Things will get modified. Things won't work.
There's no saying. No plan survives contact with the enemy.
Yeah, that's something that some people don't understand that aren't like more deep into gaming, is that yes, sometimes content is cut because there's no time, space, or money. Sometimes features are cut because they don't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
Or they would just be way too difficult to implement. And again, we're going back to the time, space, and money argument. So that's why I tell indie devs, especially when they're just starting out, is that nowadays there's so much noise out there. There's so many people trying to get their things known that it doesn't matter how good the game is when you actually release it. Nowadays, it literally doesn't matter how good your game is if no one knows about it. But I guess we can have like a separate marketing for indie games.
We'll do it one day. Yeah.
Episode about that. But hey, we're gonna look forward to a city builder developed, or kind of is it Ubisoft just publishes shit, right?
Well, yeah, but the game is developed by Ubisoft Blue Byte.
Okay, so actually developed by a AAA publisher at the very least. So this hasn't happened. This literally hasn't happened.
But it's happened like a couple of times in the past, because from 1404, Ubisoft has made the Anno 2070 and 2000 something. Like it's made two other games. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, but again, it's not something that, first of all, no one's really heard about those ones. I mean, I've only heard not great things about the Space Anno games, to be honest. I haven't looked that deep into them, but the hype around the series wasn't about the space ones. It's about the 14, 17, these ones, the older ones. And I think that's been it in terms of AAA people. I haven't seen Activision touting their next city builder or
No, I don't think. I'm trying to remember if Activision actually owns any city builders.
You know what would, apropos of Bethesda, how about a city builder in Morrowind?
Like that would kind of make sense.
I think that would I mean, it wouldn't work in as far as the gaming world is the lore, because you couldn't have like a new. I mean, you could have a new settlement, obviously, but it would have to interact with. Yeah, it would be a bitch from a story standpoint. But as its own separate thing, I think that would be kind of cool, actually.
It would. Also, going back to Activision a bit, it owns the entire Impression Games library, all of them.
So, son of a bitch. Where when I bought,
they tried with Caesar 4, it didn't work out.
When I bought the games, I gave Activision money. Son of a bitch.
Yeah. Caesar 4 wasn't all that like that. I don't remember exactly why I didn't like it as much as the others. I think it was because the way the buildings worked, like they weren't walker based, they were sort of ranged based, and I think that's sort of put me off it. I think that's why a lot of people didn't buy it and the series didn't take off again.
Yeah, but now the range based thing is a thing by now.
Yeah, but
the walker system has been taken out for its own walk.
For a walk down a short pier with cement shoes.
I don't know. I didn't play 4. I played 1, 2, and 3 recently.
It's been ages in 4.
But I've heard mixed things about 4, and I haven't really had the impulse or other impetus to actually play 4 or get it. I know it's the only 3D one. So
yeah. Technically, Tilted Mill, who made Caesar 4, also made Children of the Nile. It was their attempt to make a spiritual sequel to Pharaoh.
I just recently bought that one as well. It was on sale like a couple of weeks ago.
Have you gotten a chance to play it? No.
No. I've been annoying.
Oh, yeah. True. What would you say was your favorite city builder?
Favorite city builder?
Yeah. The one you spend the most time in and will always go back to, no matter how flawed it may be or what problems it may have.
I don't really think I had like a favorite title per se. I really enjoyed the genre. I enjoyed each title for what they brought. I haven't yet returned to something. I think that I'm gonna go back to Banished at a certain point. But I have so many other titles to get through first.
For me, it's probably Settlers 2 because I used to play it when I was in high school, and
you just cut out when you said the title.
Oh, Settlers 2.
Okay.
It worked for me, so people can hear it, so it's no problem. I used to play it whenever I wasn't coming back from high school. When I had a tough day, I would just play it for a couple of hours. It was one of the most relaxing games possible. That and Unreal Tournament, of course, a very relaxing game.
Yeah.
The thing about the game is that you could do... there was a mission in Settlers 2 where you had to get to a gate to go to another world. And the gate was on the other side of a mountain, and to get there, you had to go through to some Chinese civilization, to two Chinese civilizations, and you had to basically go to war with them, even though they were non-hostile towards you.
Yeah, this sounds like one of the missions I played in the 10th anniversary edition, actually.
Yeah, the thing is that you started right next to the mountain, and if you were patient, you could tear down the mountain with stonecutters.
Oh,
that's
really?
What I did.
That's not something that you could do in the 10th anniversary edition, though.
And there was also one very, very nice bug in the original version. Catapults would not trigger hostility. So if somebody saw a rock flying at them and blowing up their building, and then you putting a building next to it,
they'd be like, nothing wrong there. Carry on.
Yes, stuff happens. And that's how I won that mission. It took me I think 3 or 4 hours, but it was so just relaxing because I tried to find the cheesiest way to finish it without ever going to war.
That is almost the definition. I mean, it's not the definition of cheesy; it's an exploit. but it is close to it.
Yep.
That sounds great. But yeah, looking forward to maybe doing another one of these in a year's time when we can talk about the new releases, because there's going to be some new city builder releases.
Also, what's your biggest regret about city builders? Do you have any regrets about them, about the genre in general, or a game in particular?
Well, I think it's a natural thing and it's a normal thing for basically this was a trend. It was a fashion trend. It was a trend for trends in art to exist. This worked for painting and especially music and fashion. So I'm not really sorry that the city builder went underground for a while, because it's coming back, and now it's coming back with the benefit of our current processing power, when we can, well, not we, but the developers can actually make much more realistic living worlds that we can get to play in and with. So I'm not sorry about it. I don't regret anything. In fact, the opposite. I'm looking forward to what's to come, because it can only be that much more varied and dynamic, and I'm really looking forward to that. You?
Well, my biggest regret is everything that happened with tablet and mobile games. Because let's face it, this genre was made for tablets. If you want to play it on a computer, sitting on a chair, on an armchair, yeah, that's fine, but you could play it in bed. Like, you can just stand in bed, comfortable, wrapped in a blanket, and just play Caesar and play Pharaoh and play Settlers. But you couldn't. Nobody ported them. And the games that were on tablets, on phones, they were like... they're worse than walking simulators in terms of being games, because you have no decision-making power in those games. You place a building, a timer starts, the building gets built, you place another building, a longer timer starts, and you have basically no choice of where to put the building, what the building does. You have no way of optimizing anything. You just build more buildings, so you can build more buildings in an exact predefined order for basically no enjoyment. That's one of the worst thing possible.
You know what that is, Unicum? That's not a regret, and that you shouldn't see it as a bad thing. You should see it as an opportunity. So that is your niche. That's your idea, and you could at least write the concept for a mobile or tablet-friendly.
Yeah, but now tablets are dead. Tablets are dead. They're on the way out. Nobody's making them anymore.
I guess.
There was a golden age where if Ubisoft released Settlers 2 with original graphics for a tablet, corner the market, like billions of dollars, well, not billions, but I would have bought it at least.
Yeah, but I don't think the original graphics would have worked. They would have, because again, they need to also cater to the modern contemporary audience.
Yeah.
And a lot of that audience, that tablet using audience, is kids now, and things need to look at kids and older people for some reason or other. Really enjoy those Candy Crushes and spot the difference and find the object games, or at least that's just in my very limited experience. I'm not sure if that's a general thing. Please let us know in the comments if it is. But no, the original, you can't have pixel art on the tablets, unfortunately. I mean, I would like that, but again, I play pixel art games and all games on the computer as well. So I think you can take the idea, I think you can take the concept and then retool it and dress it up in a nice, sparkly, shiny, modern dress, and that might just sell. Although mobile market is fucking flooded, I would run away. I don't even touch it. I don't even play mobile games.
Yeah, basically just play Creature Quest these days and the Android version of Dragon Pass.
The only thing, ooh, now that game, nice. The only thing that I've only played, I think, 2 games on mobile for any real length of time. One was Fallout Shelter, for obvious reasons, and the other one was one of those Connect 3 games, but it was the Magic the Gathering themed one. And
Ooh, there was one.
And I'm big into Magic the Gathering. I've just returned to the game now after a 6-year break. So those are the only 2 mobile games I've actually played, and both of them I only played them because they were associated with a franchise I already had investment in. But again, that's me. I'm an old fart.
Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe tablets will make a comeback one day, because they're kind of dead now. And maybe somebody, there was a port in development of Caesar 3, like a fan port of it, but I'm not sure if it actually managed to work. No, wait, no, it was an attempt to get Windows running on a tablet to get Caesar to work.
I think I'm pretty sure actually there's a Heroes 2.
That one actually works.
Yeah,
that works.
For a tablet.
No idea how to right click. That's why I can't really play it. Because if you don't right click, you don't know if you're attacking a bunch of, like, if you're attacking a Titan or Zaun's Titans.
Yes, exactly. I guess they should have thought about it, but no one.
There probably is a way, but it's not obvious. That's kind
The
of
most
problematic.
the easiest one would have been hold tap.
Yeah, no, hold doesn't do hold. I actually don't remember exactly what hold did. Well, I think hold selects it and shows a pop-up of its. No, that's in combat.
Anyway,
don't remember.
Doesn't matter. But it exists, sort of.
Yeah,
It's a fan-made thing, but it exists.
and
I don't
Heroes
know.
3 is ported by Ubisoft on tablets, and it works. So they could have done something similar with Settlers. Like they could have used the graphics of Settlers, the remake, the one in 3D.
That would have worked on a tablet, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. City Builders, they also went underground, and now
Yeah, and that could have been their rebirth. It would have been ideal.
it could have, but it wasn't because because of what I'm going to say now. Why I think they actually needed to take the break, but not necessarily that they needed that, they had to, because we had most of our city builders, the classics, built in the 90s. The 90s were a period of time in which computers were advancing, obviously quite quickly, but they were just adequate in terms of what they could do. They were good enough for the time, but the capacity we have now was unheard of. It was literally sci-fi 20 years ago, what we have now. Just take a look at Johnny Mnemonic.
Or if you read Neuromancer, there one of the first thing that happens in the book is that the main character steals I think a 4 megabyte chip, and that's supposed to get him like several $100,000.
Extraordinary.
For 4 megabytes.
Yeah. So basically what we have now is sci-fi by 20 years ago. And again, 20 years ago, first of all, there was no internet. Second of all, there were not that many games being produced. And third of all, there was literally more time for people to actually spend and play city builders, because there weren't so many things jostling for their attention. There was no Netflix. Obviously, if no internet, no social media. So literally, people had time to do that. And that's why they existed. That's why adventure games also died. You can say they kind of died. They're pretty snoozy by now. And they are sort of maybe seeing a somewhat resurgence now. Again,
especially in the indie sector.
Especially in the indie sector. But again, thanks to partly nostalgia and then crowdfunding.
The thing is, one parenthesis, adventure games came back on tablets in a big way.
That's interesting to hear. Again, since I wasn't into mobile games, I wouldn't really know.
Even Monkey Island now has a functional tablet and mobile phone version.
Now that you mention it, those do make a bunch of sense. But I'm talking about computer. So this is why I think they disappeared for a while. City builders, I mean, because after the 2000s, computers started getting even faster. This industry-wide and consumer-wide obsession with graphics began once the 3D acceleration boards came online, Voodoo and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, people started playing more FPSs because that's where you could showcase the 3D graphics better and effects and all kinds of crazy rendering and stuff. And the considerably slower pace of city builders and also adventure games went a bit underground. But now, further 10 years later, the people who initially enjoyed playing those games, who now are our age, 30-something year olds,
old geezers,
yes, also have money, and they're willing to buy that nostalgia back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why these things are coming back now, and they will be better and stronger for it because nowadays they can literally do what they couldn't do 20 years ago because they didn't have the processing power. Just like flat out raw power wasn't there.
All the possibilities we'll see. Maybe, who knows, maybe we'll see Medieval Mare one day.
That one has to do more with necromancy, I fear.
Yeah.
Than just some shifts in trends. Depends who has the rights to it. And
Tilted Mill still has the rights to it because they didn't have a publisher. So
okay.
They can still make it one day. The studio still exists.
Okay. But if the original people aren't there to make it, then it wouldn't be the same thing.
But I think, Chris Beatrice is still there. He's the founder of the studio, and he also made Pharaoh, so...
Oh, okay. So that's weird then. Well, what are they doing with their time?
They didn't have money to make it, I think.
I understand that, but what have they... If the studio still exists, then it means they made money out of something.
Outsourcing, basically. They do other things for other studios.
Okay. I understand that. I don't think they're gonna, depending on the scope of the game, maybe they're waiting to see how these new games, and maybe they'll get spurred on by the results that the Foundation and the Ancient Cities and Neolithic and maybe Anno 1800, who knows? We haven't seen shit for the game, so we'll have to wait and see if it's actually a good Ubisoft creation.
Yeah, speaking of Tilted Mill, they did make a sort of city building game called Hinterlands that also had RPG elements to it.
I heard about that.
I heard it all.
I heard about the title. Now that you mention it, I'm gonna look it up. Is it on GOG?
I think it may be. Let me look it up. Hinterlands. No, it is not.
Okay.
That's strange.
I'll look it up and see what's up. That sounds interesting. I love RPGs, so that might be a good combo.
Maybe if the game did a bit better, it would have been. Would have had a Medieval Mare now.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
It is on Steam for the price of €10. That's mostly positive reception.
That's good to know. On the other hand, for at least for you now, you've built up Medieval Mare so much in your head. Even if it comes out,
I just want Caesar, but themed in medieval times, basically.
I think I would like that, but I would want more than just Caesar right now.
Well, I would have kind of liked it to be at the level of technology of Emperor.
For instance, like if you take Banished and slap on it any sort of graphics theme, maybe a campaign also, which, by the way, the campaign in Anno 1701 Second Dragon is off the chain. It's so good, dude. So good. Like I mentioned it especially in the review because I've never really given that much of a shit for campaigns and city builders, but the one in Anno 1701 should be studied by city builder developers so that they know how to make a proper ass campaign. So good.
Now you got me really curious to try it.
No, dude, you will. I promise you, this is a nonsense guarantee. You will not regret playing the campaign. It's so. It has you doing everything that the game can do, but nothing that you expect. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I give an example in the review. You can listen to that.
And I'm gonna wait for it to go on sale.
It's so put it wishlisted. It's so good, dude. It's literally I wasn't expecting. I was like, oh, there's a campaign. Cool. I'm gonna play the campaign so I get a better idea of the mechanics, and then I'm gonna check out some custom. I'm gonna do some custom games. I played like 10 fucking missions. I haven't finished it because I had to get the video out. But I played like through 10 missions. I mean, and in the Settlers, I only played, I don't know, 4 because it was the same fucking thing, basically. They go to the portal.
Mm-hmm.
And as we all know, Caesar's fucking Lugdunum. Never again. But yeah, I think we're spent on the city builder subject.
Yeah, this would be it for the GameTales episode of City Builders. If you've got anything to add, please say so in the comments, especially what we got wrong and how we may or may not be a fake podcast. We'll see about that later.
Mm-hmm. Hashtag.
So, Steven, do you have anything to add?
Not really, just that thank you for having me, as per usual. I love these little chats of ours. And just as I've mentioned all throughout the podcast, you will have my channel linked in the description anyway. Go there to check out the latest video, which either already is or should be posted on the same day with this podcast, my Anno 1701 The Sunken Dragon review. And just hear me talk about that for like 15 minutes or so, I think.
Well, so closes another edition of GameTales. See you again probably next week and also every day because we have shows on the channel constantly. Goodbye.
See you next time.